Helmmaster EX. This award-winning system features the first single-engine joystick with digital electric steering and new autopilot capability. See Helmmaster EX in action at a Yamaha Outboard dealer or visit YamahaOutboards.com.
Dave Anderson here with the Fisherman magazine. It's October 10th. These are your headlines. Big news this week, of course, is the opening of fall blackfish season in Connecticut. We'll talk all about that. Also hearing about a resurgence of some bluefin action off the Cape. And for all you night fishermen, you've got a couple reasons why you should keep your eyes on the skies this week, and I'll tell you all about it. Stay tuned for all that and more on this week's New England Fishing Forecast.
The Fishing News is sponsored by these fine partners.
Before we begin, we've got a few news items for you guys. The first one is all about those reasons why you should be watching the sky. I'll start with the less exciting one, and that is that we have a comet coming into view this week. It starts on Friday night, and it's going to get easier and easier to see over the next 7 days. It's going to be setting just behind the sun. So the sun will set, and then the comet will follow by 20 minutes on Friday, 40 minutes on Saturday, 60 minutes on Sunday, and so on and so forth from there. This may be one of the brightest comets any of us see in our lifetime, so it's something I want to make sure you guys don't miss. Should have a big long tail, should be pretty cool. These things are a little bit tricky to predict, so may not come out as good as they're saying it will, but it's something you definitely want to keep an eye on. And then the big one, if you've ever wanted to see the northern lights, now is the time. Tonight there's a major geomagnetic storm. This could be one of the biggest that we've seen in 100 years. We just had a big one back in May, you may remember. This one has the juice to maybe eclipse that one, but even if it doesn't, very, very high chances of seeing a magnificent display of the northern lights. I've actually seen them 6 times this year, including twice this week. The sun is in a very active phase. This happens every 11 years. I'm not a scientist. I can do my best to explain it, but it's in an active phase. We're seeing lots of solar flares. That's what starts these things off. And yesterday there was a massive solar flare that's predicted to hit Earth on tonight, and that's going to set off some incredible displays. If you want some tips for seeing the northern lights, find a really dark place, preferably a place without a lot of light pollution, so away from city lights. Good places to look would be like some of the points up in Maine, or Cape Ann, or Plum Island, or out on the north side of Cape Cod. But even if you can't get to a place like that, just get yourself at the south end of a lake and just look north, where you can get a good view of the horizon, and there's a very good chance you're going to see some amazing displays. So do not miss that. That's going to be tonight and tomorrow night, and possibly spilling over into Saturday night. So, you know, it's exciting stuff. It's something that I'm really passionate about, so I just want to share it with you guys. Hopefully you guys enjoy it. If you do, take some pictures and email them to me. Love to see those photos. Next thing, let's check in with Jenni Ackerman. Here's her latest installment of Open Boat.
Kicking back off right where I left off last week with Open Boat. We are still at the Fisherman magazine show. Such a big, awesome show. And we're going to talk to some legendary fishermen that are here at the show that make sure you come to next year so you can meet these guys yourselves. If you don't meet them out on the surf or on the boat or wherever you're at. But we're going to get some motivational quotes from these guys with all their years of experience. So let's go talk to them.
Hi, I'm John Skinner, and a lot of times, especially today, people are asking me about false albacore in the North Fork. Well, you know what? We're here in September, and what I see on the North Fork is there are 2 runs. September, the albies go into the Sound. Now, sometimes we see them on the surface. Sometimes they just go by, and they go into areas, even as far west as Huntington, maybe even a little farther. And it's a sporadic run in September. When we get them, it's not very dependable. What I bank on is when it starts getting colder, all of those albies that went up west in the Sound, suddenly when it gets cold, it's like 45 degrees in the morning, they kind of go, uh-oh, we've got to leave. And that's the run where we get them consistently. And that's in October, and it's really the second half of October, and actually the last couple of years, it's been the first half of November as well. So, like right now, people are running around looking for albies on the North Fork, and they're complaining they're not finding any. I think they shouldn't worry about it. Hopefully, I have heard that there are albies way up west, and we'll get them. but we're going to get them second half of October and maybe the first 10 days or so of November.
Hey! Everybody turns around when I go, hey. The fall run is here. It's not coming, it's already here. So get your asses out there, get your rod, get your reels, get your children, get your kids, and go out and fish.
I guess we're doing an interview here at the Fisherman Show. I'm Billy the Greek, if you don't know me. All my friends call me just the Greek. But we'll get into the fall run of striped bass and what you should be doing to catch some of them. Me personally, I'm a bucktailer. I like bucktail fishing the most. So I was just listening to a seminar, we won't mention who, but everyone's putting clips on bucktails. You can do that, but they fish way better without clips. And I don't fish braid. I'm probably one of the few people that don't fish braid with bucktails, but there's a reason for it. Braid is thinner diameter, sinks faster, gives the lure less action. So if you're fishing on a beach and you need a light lure, mono will sit higher and fish in the strike zone longer. And that's a real plus. So that might be the difference between you catching 3 fish or 10 fish, or 10 fish and 40 fish, who knows? Yeah. So now this is all starting. We have a ton of bait coming down the beaches, and the wind was east, northeast, so this is gonna start it. So you guys gotta get out there, put some time in, see if you can find your fish, find your tides. Fish are always by tide. That's the main ingredient you need to know. Unless you're like me, I can fish 7 days a week. If you only got 2 or 3, go fishing no matter what the tide. But you'll start to notice that the fish bite on the stage of the tide almost all the time. And once you get that down pat, then you can decide if it's a day bite or a night bite. That's the second thing you need to do. So if you're fishing all night and the fish are feeding in the day, you're in the wrong spot at the wrong time. So it probably helps to have a friend or two if you can get there. But other than that, we're getting the fish first, Jersey second.
And mind you, Billy was not talking smack about my seminar, because I did fantastic. And I talked about bucktailing in the surf for stripers, so listen to Billy.
Did you? Yeah, bucktail is the #1 lure. The good part about a bucktail is that, first of all, it's a single hook, so it does the least amount of damage to the fish, which is really good. And bass have a tendency to inhale a bucktail, so way harder to miss a fish than on a plug. So you get that punch instead of that bite. And even with a big belly in the line with a strong wind, you still hook them, you don't miss them. Whereas a plug, you'll miss a lot of fish. So if you get into bucktailing and learn, head design matters, by the way. Nobody talks about head design. There's multiple heads. There's bull heads, spro heads, bullet heads, arrow heads, ball heads, smile and bill heads. So you can do the ones you like the best. Sometimes a ball head works very good in fast-moving, deeper water. Smile and bills and stuff like that fish good on the surf. Bullets and bullet heads and arrowheads sink much faster, so if you need to get down a little deeper, a little quicker, you can switch to that. But everything's adjustable. And the length of the trailer you put up, bucktail, you can fit with a pork rind or the new fake pork rind, which is fat cow or whatever that stuff is. Or you can use a twisted tail, but usually a trailer on the back of a pork rind helps dramatically. And slower is better usually, but not always. So experiment, put some time in, catch a big one.
Billy, you're my hero. Thank you so much.
And now the Dream Boat Fishing Challenge entries for the week. We only had one this week. New England subscriber Norman Bouchard of Marston Mills, Massachusetts, giving it another shot in the bluefish category with a 16-pounder, putting him in 3rd in that category. Remember, rules state that contestants can submit as many entries as they wish. However, only the heaviest entry per species category will be entered. The leaderboard remains. Kyle Kraus and Scott Waterman are tied at 16 points each. Ahmed Solomon has 18 and is in 1st place. There are 7 weeks left. Still plenty of time to enter your fish to win that Steiger craft powered by Yamaha and many other great prizes, but you must be a Fisherman subscriber to enter. For all the details on how to enter and the rules, visit thefisherman.com. We had no new entries in the Coastal Kayak Clash this week, so the standings remain the same. Bob Wagner and Justin Oser are both tied for 1st with 9 points, and Todd Treones is in 3rd with 7 points. To be part of the Coastal Kayak Clash, and for your chance to win that Old Town Sportsman PDL 120 fully outfitted by yakattack.com and other great prizes, you must be a Fisherman subscriber. For all the details on how to enter and the rules, visit thefisherman.com.
And now we'll talk about the giveaway, which is ongoing. This one's going to wrap up on Halloween, so you have to get your photos into me by October 30th. We're still seeing pretty good numbers of photos. It's tapered off a little bit, but you guys know the drill by now, but I'm just going to run through it real quick anyway. It's got to be a picture of you holding your fish, and it has to be recently caught. Outside of that, I don't care if it was caught in your hometown or if it was caught in California or South Africa. It doesn't matter to me. It's just got to be a well-composed photo, and emailed to me at danderson@thefisherman.com or texted to the number on the screen. Just make sure you give me all the pertinent details, like where it was caught, who the angler is, how big it was, and make sure you put contest or something like that in the, or giveaway in the subject line so I know what it's for. We'll get you in the report, probably get you in the magazine, and we'll definitely get you in the contest, and who knows, you might win something cool. This time around, we're giving away a glide bait made by me, and you know, you got a couple weeks here until the big drawing, so get those photos in and we'll see who wins. Moving over to the reports now, we're still seeing good fall run action up in Maine. Heard about some big bluefish, you know, up into the low teens coming out of some areas up there. We're still seeing nice striped bass coming off the beaches and out of the rivers, so the fall run is still fully underway up in Maine, which I feel like might be late, but I'm not from Maine, so maybe this happens every year. But in either case, it's a good thing whether you're going to get there or you're not, because it just means the migration is going to be that much longer. Drop it down over the border now. We're going to check in quick with James Jewkes.
Hope everybody's family's safe down in Florida and Carolinas and stuff. Anyways, up here at Plugs Pond, just checking out some water, see what the trout stocking's doing. Mass has been busy throughout the state now, all over the place. So if you feel like doing some trout stocking, time to get out. And if you catch it right, these fish are hungry when they're off the truck. So as soon as that truck dumps, get out and get them. There's some carp being caught too, as well as some pike up in this area. So get out and do your thing in all the water bodies that are around. Off to the striper scene now. You got to get into the rivers. A little bit outgoing, a little bit incoming. You know, you're going to do well. There are fish, there's bait. Unfortunately, out on the ocean front, the surf and the groundswell out there has been so tough. I spent a lot of time out there, and it is brutal. If you're on a boat, you're probably doing quite well, but from the surf, it's been tough. Even up into New Hampshire and over into Gloucester, guys are slowly picking away at them. But you got to keep at it, because I know there's going to be another good push of fish coming through. So don't give up yet. Last night was a touch of frost going on up here. No big deal. And what else was I going to tell you? Get to your local shops if you can, because some of them will be closing before the end of the season. And also, sunrise and sunset, 6 o'clock in the morning is no longer light. And around 6:15 at night, it was really starting to get dark. So, got to put in your time. All right, Dave, that's it from here. Keep the fishing going, guys.
Now moving down into Boston Harbor, let's check in with Danny Parma from Fish Bucket Sport Fishing.
Thanks, Dave. Dan checking in with the bite from Boston. This week we had a little bit better of some action. There's still some bass in the area, you know, in the harbor. You know, there's little pods here and there, picking on the peanut bunker. Occasionally you'll find a little pod of full size, and the bass are there picking away at them. We did manage to get out to the BG buoy to go get some bait. There's a lot of macs in that area. There's also a bunch of chub macs and blue runner jacks. So there's some interesting bait coming in, and the fish are loving it. So go out there, get your bait if you can, and bring it back into the harbor. We did some trolling over by the Revere Beach area and found a big school of really fat bluefish. Probably some of the fattest bluefish I've seen. You know, not you know, the biggest, but definitely the fattest. We were getting those on the dirty water mojos. It seems like you know, they were picking on the bait. You know, a lot of baits coming up chomped in half, even though we were using the wire leaders. But the tandem mojos in white seem to you know, do the trick this week. That's what I got for you guys. Get out there. Winter's coming. Stay safe. I'll catch you on the next one.
Heading down the South Shore, we're seeing a resurgence of that fall run action we were seeing a few weeks ago, from Peggotty Beach down into Plymouth. A lot of daytime blitz action. Nighttime guys are doing a little bit better on size. We're seeing fish up into the low 40-inch class. Live eels are getting a lot of the biggest fish. Big surprise there, but you know, metal lips are getting it done, needlefish are getting it done, soft plastics are getting it done, and in the daytime it's all top water and paddle tails and bucktails. But the action's been really good, and you know, this is a good time of year for that area, because if you think about it, you know, as we get down closer to the canal, you think about the shape of the Cape. You know, it's like an elbow, you know, like an arm. And the whole migration, I know this isn't oriented the wrong way, but the whole migration comes down and kind of runs into the Cape, and that sets things up for some really good fishing along those areas, especially if you have things that stop them, like the Scusset Beach Jetty or the Sandwich Jetty. And you know, those little armpit areas really sort of concentrate bait, they concentrate fish, and as long as you don't have crazy wind with a lot of weed, fishing can be very good from now right up to Thanksgiving. So it's a really good place to keep an eye on. And that extends from Plymouth all the way down to the canal and then all the way out to like Barnstable Harbor. So that whole area is a great place to fish. A lot of needlefish do well out there, red fins and hydro minnows and stuff like that. Also glide baits are deadly along that stretch. So very good place to keep an eye on at this time of the year, and I've heard about some good fish up to 30 pounds along that stretch over the last few days, so keep an eye on that. Heading out around the tip of the Cape, been hearing about some rec class bluefin up to 60 pounds, up to 60 inches or so, out on Stellwagen and a few places east of the Cape. Most of these fish are being caught on live bait or chunk bait, but we are hearing about some caught on jigs like the Ron Z. So the tuna action is firing back up. I haven't heard a lot from the outer beaches, but I have to believe, you know, early October is typically a very good time to fish out there. It's usually the more southern stretch of the outer beaches that gets all the attention at this time of the year. So from like Nauset Light down to Coast Guard, and then from Nauset down to Chatham. Very good places to fish the surf at this time of the year. We are seeing some continuation of striped bass action in the Monomoy Rips. Also still seeing a minority of large albies in that area and some bonito. As you get out closer to Nantucket, things get a little bit better. There's been some big albies around Nantucket. That's where a lot of guys are heading to find these giant albies that we're seeing. I mean, we're seeing fish from 10 to 18 pounds, which is just an amazing class of fish to be fishing for. But we've seen fish up to, you know, albies up to 30 inches taken off the beaches of Nantucket. We've seen some nice stripers up into the 40-inch class coming from the beaches of Nantucket as well. Out in the middle of the Sound, there have been some roving schools of these big albies, but it's not a big concentration. You got to hunt for them, and they've been tough to get to bite. Over by the Vineyard, we've started to see some good striped bass activity, which, you know, doesn't do much for the derby guys, but there are some nice stripers around. A lot of bonito, not so many albies, and the bluefish bite has been pretty solid from what we've been hearing. The good thing is that, you know, another non-derby fish, that the blackfish bite has started to really pick up on the north shore of the island, and then kind of reaching over to the Elizabeths, over to Nomans. And if you want to know a little bit more about that fishery, you can check out the October edition and read Alex Friedman's article all about togging around the Vineyard. You get some good starting points and you get some pointers. It's a great read, so check that one out. The Elizabeths also have some albies, some very finicky schools of large albies. They're feeding on tiny bay anchovies, which makes them impossibly hard to catch, but a few guys are getting them, and these fish are big. A lot of striped bass reports coming from the guys going out to Cuddy, so you know the entire Elizabeth Island chain is producing fish for the boat guys. Pushing through the islands into eastern Buzzards Bay, we have seen a few albies finally pushing through, and even a few getting into the canal. In fact, I saw one pod of albies go through the canal on, I think, Thursday morning last week. And, you know, I got one shot at them, but they were already down current to me. It was pretty hard to fish for them. They did not hit, but It was nice to finally see some albies because I have hardly seen any this year. For a little bit more on what's going on in the canal, let's check in now with East End Eddie.
Hey Dave, another beautiful fall morning here in the world famous Cape Cod Canal. I got an east flood tide behind me that I'll be exploring very shortly. A seal just swam by behind me with a 40-inch striper in his mouth, so that's a good sign. There's a ton of rain bait still in the canal. Sometimes the fish are focusing on small stuff like silver sides, but a lot of fish 40-inch or greater have been caught. Things are great. October is shaping up to starting out at least to be the best month of the season. So John Captain Morgan caught a 26-pounder, and Bloodhound Steve Colleran caught a 35-inch. They were both throwing fish labs. Lou Pipe Dock Braga caught 4 fish. The biggest one was 40 inches on a Al Gags white soft plastic jig. And Jean Doble and Ben, the potato manager Sivanen, caught 34 inches apiece. Some nice fish. And I forgot what Ben was throwing, but John JD had his white magic swimmer working. I caught a 36-inch on an east flood tide. I was using a Yozori Hydro Monster Shot, blue over silver. Great lure, 3.5 ounces, cast like a rocket. And this 36-inch fish fought like way over his weight. A fat fish that was still hungry. So Kathy Tang continues to outfish the guys around her. She caught a 34-inch and a 41-inch. And Paulie the Painter Gravina did very well. He caught a 31-inch, 38-inch, and a 47-inch striped bass. And he was using his handmade 4-ounce pink jigs, soft plastic jigs. And so congratulations to Paul. He's a terrific lure builder, a great guy, and an excellent fisherman. So my tip of the week is be careful when you have your fingers near a bluefish's mouth. When I was a little kid, I saw a bluefish bite my Uncle Joe Flynn's finger off, so I've been careful ever since. So until next week, catch a big one.
And then heading out to the western parts of Buzzards Bay, all these estuaries have striped bass right now. And there's been some adult bunker in some of them, which has attracted some larger striped bass up to even 40 pounds. That's maybe not the norm, but any place you're seeing big bait, you have the opportunity to find some big striped bass. And even if you don't find the really big ones, chances are you're going to find a lot of fish. A lot of bait up in the estuaries. It doesn't matter if it's Buttermilk Bay or the Wareham River or Padenarum Harbor or the Westport River or any of the other ones I didn't mention. There's striped bass in all of them. There's lots of bait around, and the fishing in those areas has been pretty solid. Outside, the tog fishing has been really good, especially as you get more toward the Rhode Island border. And we're still seeing a few weak fish mixing in here and there. And overall, I mean, the bottom fishing has been really good. And we're seeing some pushes of striped bass going through that area as well. That's what I have for you guys in Massachusetts this week. Crossing over into Rhode Island, TJ Kopecki is out for a few weeks here. He had a heart procedure. It wasn't an emergency. It was a preventative thing. But he, please join me in wishing him a speedy recovery and, thoughts and prayers and all that stuff. And he did give me a couple reports. He said that the togging up inside the bay has been picking up, and the guys behind the Grand Tourister have been doing well. And also said that there's been some bluefish showing up at Barrington Beach. Some of these fish are on the large side, which is something that if you read the October edition, he predicted. If you haven't read it, check out his story on East Bay Blues. It's all about that region, the Bristol, Barrington area, and the history of these crazy bluefish blitzes and how to get in on it. So check that out. It's great read, great story. Other things I've been seeing from up inside the bay are that the striped bass fishing has been very good for the surf crowd fishing in the bay. Not a lot of really big fish, like up to 20, 22 pounds, something like that. More of these fish are, more centered around the slot size. But swimming plugs, things like the mag darter, and mid-sized soft plastics have been really getting it done up there, so that's something you can concentrate on. As you push out front, we're seeing a lot of striped bass along the beaches of Rhode Island too, and this is sort of a general thing. It's spotty, so some guys are doing nothing, other guys are doing better than others. Not a lot of big fish though. We've seen a few, solid fish up into the mid 30-pound class here and there, but more of these fish are in the like 24 to 35 inch range. And when you get on them, you tend to get on a lot of them. Paddle tails like the NLBN 5-inch have been killing it, but you can do it a lot of different ways. The guys that are getting the most bigger fish are doing it with live eels, and a lot of these bigger fish are coming from concentration areas like prominent points or breachways. So you definitely want to concentrate around that if you're looking for a big one. For a little bit more on some of the things happening in this region, let's check in now with Jeff Sullivan from up in Bristol.
What's up, Dave? What's going on, guys? So this week I have a bottom fishing report for you guys. We've been doing a lot of ground game, and we've been picking up a lot of big bomber sea bass under the striper blitzes. They're slurping up all the falling bait to the bottom, and those sea bass are having a field day. Big bomber sea bass, like up to 5 pounds. We were just using a little epoxy jigs, the Game On XO jigs that I like to use, and just jigging them right off bottom and catching, huge sea bass. In the mix, you'll get tautog too, which is awesome. I love catching tautog on epoxy jigs, but that's for another day. But the sea bass bite has been consistent. They've been shallow. You'll find them deep, you'll find them shallow. It's been a really good sea bass run this fall. It's only going to keep getting better as the weather cools down. If you guys are into the sea bass game, I like to use ultralight gear for sea bass. I think it's a blast. It's like super addicting. I actually bring my trout rod out and use the epoxies with it. But yeah, if you guys are in the sea bass game, there's tons around. As far as the tautog bite, it's been very solid, to say the least. It's only going to keep getting better. So just be patient. Wait, that water's going to cool right off, and those tautog are going to start really chewing. Those big ones are really going to start chewing. We've been finding fish up to 8-9 pounds. Nothing crazy big yet, but we're right on schedule for what we do. But I'll tell you what, there's been a lot of life around. Life brings life. So, you got the bass on top water, you get the sea bass underneath, which is fine with me. But then you got the sea bass, and then you get the tog. So it all comes full circle. It's been a real good last couple of days. We get a lot of bonito in the mix too. A lot of bonito been out there. It's been a really good bonito year, Dave, I noticed. But hey, I'm not complaining. But I got one other thing to say is Lucky Bait and Tackle. Give us a call if you need a bushel for the Crafty One Tog Classic. Don't wait until it's too late, because if you wait, can't get you one. So give us a call, and we'll try to accommodate you with how many bushels you need. So Dave, hope to see you this weekend at the tournament. Guys, hope to see you guys at the tournament as well, or see you out there in general. And stay safe, tight lines. All right, take it away, Dave.
Guys looking for bigger striped bass are doing the most damage out around Block Island. Southwest Ledge has had a pretty good push of fish, and they are able to be targeted with live eels, plastic eels, and there's even been some topwater action at times. South of the island, we've been hearing that the tuna bite's firing up again. It's very similar to what we're seeing off the Cape. There's some giants around, there's some wreck-sized fish around, but bait fishing has been the best way to hook up. For a little bit more on that and some of the other things happening in the Block Island area, let's check in now with Captain John Lee from JL Charters.
Hey, John Lee, JL Charters, Point Jewkes, Rhode Island. I'm running in from the tuna grounds south of Block. We lost one big fish, a bunch of sharks. Earlier in the week, I got out blackfishing closer to home around Point Judith. Did pretty well in like 35 feet to 55 feet of water. Out around the island, I had some slot bass maybe 5-6 days ago, some green bonita, and some small blues. Looks like we got some wind this week out of the northwest, and so we'll see what that does, but I'll be getting out as much as I can. Have a good one. Have a good week.
Up along the South Shore beaches, as we talked about, the surf fishing's been solid. There's really been no albies to speak of. Seems like the bass bite cooled off a little bit on the reefs, I expect that to fire back up again. But one thing that's been kind of cool is we've seen a bumper crop of weak fish in that area too. And some of these fish, again, been solid sized fish, like up to 24 inches. Basically, what a lot of guys are doing to find the weak fish is they're fishing underneath blitzes. Doesn't matter what species of fish is blitzing. A lot of times these weak fish are underneath them. So fishing for them with like a little pink Ronzi or something like that is getting it done. And it's pretty cool. And then, you know, out to the western end of the state, the togging has been good, just like it's been throughout the rest of Rhode Island. Togging's just been solid, and a lot of these fish are up in shallow water, you know, 5 to 25 feet, let's say. And it doesn't matter what kind of crabs you're fishing, doesn't matter if you want to fish a jig or a rig. The bite's been good, and that's what I have for you guys in Rhode Island this week. Crossing over into Connecticut, we have the tog opener to talk about, and the opening week of tog season in Connecticut is one of the most momentous fishing holidays on the entire New England calendar. It's just not like this in other states. I think it's probably because this opener is kind of late. Like if you ask me, they should move it into September sometime, you know, 3 weeks ago. But nevertheless, this creates mass hysteria in Connecticut waters. The tackle shops really do well. You know, a lot of guys in ordering crabs, buying hooks, buying jigs, buying rods and reels and everything else. It's a big occasion. And so the good thing about that is that all the hot spots have not been fished out. And so this next week tends to be an incredible week for togging, not just for keepers, but for big fish. So you know, make sure you get out there this weekend. And if you want my advice, call your local tackle shop and order your crabs ahead of time. Just about all of them do it. You can call AW Marina, you can call J&B Tackle, you can call Fishing Factory 3, you can call Bobby J's, you can call Fisherman's World. I think all of them will take orders ahead of time. They'll have them ready for you. You can pick them up the night before. You can pick them up right before you get to the dock, and you kick off the season on the right foot. And you don't have to worry about, you know, whether or not they're going to have your bait, because they've already got it reserved. So do that. You know, hit any of the popular reefs. They've got fish because they have not been fished out yet. The other thing we're seeing across the Eastern Sound is we're seeing, you know, some good striped bass activity. I did a little fishing in Connecticut this week from the surf, and found some nice fish, you know, fish into the low 20-pound class. They were stacked up on some points out there. They were taking big soft plastics. They were taking needlefish. And other guys I talked to have been seeing similar results. So good fishing right now for stripers. Kayak guys have been crushing it with things like the Duratec eels from Game On, or big paddle tails. All these things have been really getting it done in that area. And as we get up closer to the Connecticut River, that bite just seems to get better and better. And for a little bit more on that, let's check in now with Mike Roy from Reelcast Charters.
Hey, what's up, everybody? For this week's fishing forecast, we are in the peak of the fall run. We're in October now, and there's a lot of bait moving around. So there's adult bunker, peanut bunker, and a ton of small bait. Find the bait, chances are you're gonna find the fish. Stripers are gonna be on those schools of bait. They're hitting small lures really well, especially when they're in a peanut bunker. So small top waters like the Shwana High Pitch Walk, small soft plastics like sluggos and finesse fish, and small metal jigs are all gonna produce really well this time of year. October 10th is the opening of the tog or blackfish season in Connecticut. So really looking forward to that. I'm sure that's gonna be very good, especially early in the season before the keepers get picked through. Also, I'm expecting to catch a lot of black sea bass, so that'll be a good mix of sea bass and blackfish and stripers as well. So it's a real good time of year to fish. Good luck.
Now let's head up the river and check in with Rowan Lytle.
Hey everybody, fresh off the waters of the Connecticut River today. It is coming up from a little bit of rain in the north. Water temperatures dropping with these cooler nights, and that's throwing the fish for a little bit of a loop. Today was pretty slow. Captain Noah Johnson and I fished for quite a few hours. He moved one very big pike, caught a couple smallmouth, but overall it was very slow. That said, these early fall conditions definitely get those pike engaged. One of those fish that we did move. Very, very nice fish came in hot a couple times, made 2 good attempts at the lure, and it was a very good sized pike. So certainly if you get the right conditions, those fish are going to chew as these water temperatures fall a little more into their preferred range. Of course, some other stuff is going to slow down. The channel catfish bite slowing down quite a bit. The carp are remaining pretty fired up. In fact, I'm seeing a lot of active feeding fish even after this cold front. So I expect that to continue as they bulk up and keep feeding into early fall.
Now let's head down to Westbrook and we'll check in quickly with Matt Stone from Black Hall Outfitters.
What's up everyone, Matt here from Black Hall Outfitters in Westbrook with this week's fishing report. We are on the eve of tog season here as I film this. Always fun, you know, kind of finale to our fishing year. For tog, I always like to start off shallow. Definitely don't discount like 8, 10, 12, 15 foot spots, especially if it's a hole or a really distinct rock formation or dock or reef or whatever you tend to fish for blackfish. I like to start shallow and then as the season goes on, move out deep. Fun to fight those fish in shallow water. Other than that, we've definitely got fall run style stuff going on. Ton of bait around, a lot of bay anchovies, some stripers I caught the other day, spit up little baby bay anchovies. I haven't seen as many peanuts getting eaten by those stripers, but I do think that there's plenty of peanuts around. And yeah, a lot of smaller fish blitzing, river mouth, creek mouths, especially on outgoing tides, are good this time of year. I always downsize 4 and 5 inch top waters, 5 and 7 inch soft plastics, you know, kind of lighter rods, just something that's fun. This time of year, every fish is special. You know, it's October. We've got a couple more months, so we're all begging for, you know, April again. So at least that's how I look at it. So definitely, you know, go out there, use some lighter stuff, use some smaller stuff, have some fun, enjoy them all.
Heading west from there, you got lots of blackfish opportunity. Also, we've got Southwest Reef and all these other smaller reefs. There's a lot of reefs in that area. Then you get out more toward New Haven. You got the New Haven Walls, which put out tons of fish. And you got lots of wrecks and everything out in the Western Sound. Striped bass activity along that stretch has been good. We've been seeing some small to medium bluefish mixing in at times, and this is the best area to find albies really anywhere east of, west of the vineyard. The strange thing about this particular crop of albies is they seem to be very mobile. Guys are finding them at, you know, middle ground one day, then they're 20 miles east, then they're 15 miles west. I mean, they're just moving around a lot, which makes it really hard to sort of pattern them. But they are out there and they seem to be biting pretty well for the most part. So that's, if you still haven't scratched that albie itch, that might be the place to go. Getting up closer to Norwalk, we do not have Max this week, and it's for a good reason. I want to congratulate Max and his wife, Lauren, on welcoming their new addition to the family into the fishing world. I've always thought of Max and Lauren as like a fishing power couple, and I'm sure little Maverick is going to be a powerhouse when he's old enough to hold a rod and reel. So please join me in congratulating them. You know, just an amazing time to be alive for them. So congrats on that. On the fishing end of things, togging in the Western Sound tends to be better a little bit later, but there's no reason not to start on the opener. You got really good structure up around the Norwalk Islands. You got a bunch of wrecks out there that produce fish, so those are the places that I would concentrate on. And striped bass fishing has been good out around the, you know, all those buoys, like the obstruction buoy, 28C, 11B, all that. A lot of diamond jigging, a lot of butterfly jigging going on, but there has been some topwater action. And then guys fishing up around the islands have been finding some topwater action on big spooks and stuff like that as well. And that's what I have for you guys in Connecticut this week. Now, hopefully this is going to inspire you guys to get out there, but if nothing else inspires you, please make sure you get out tonight. And even if you just go in your backyard and just check out the Northern Lights, it might be the best show of our lifetimes. You don't want to miss that. Even if you can't get to one of those dark places like I was talking about, go to a big lake and just go on the south shore of the lake and just look north, or head to Quabbin Reservoir or Wachusett Reservoir or any one of these places, and you know, get yourself a nice north view and just enjoy the show. If you're not a subscriber to The Fisherman, I highly recommend you head over to our website. That's thefisherman.com. You're going to get a full taste of what we offer there for free. And if you like it, it's going to cost you $29.95 for the year. And you're going to get 12 paper issues sent to your house. You're going to get 26 digital editions sent to your email, and you're going to get digital access to our other editions and all the back issues. You can't go wrong for $29.95. But if you're still not interested after all that, At the very least, give us a like and subscribe here on YouTube and hit that little bell thing right there so you can get a notification every time we post something new. I appreciate you guys for watching, and we'll see you next week.